What is good, everybody? Welcome back to Everyday August. It is day 8, and we are playing Five Nights at Freddy's Fangames. And we've got a lineup today. I will read them out to you right now. We've got, what is it? Five Nights at Friedrich's. That's what it says. We got 5 shows at Wario's director's cut. We got Five Nights at Frick Bears 3. We got Too Many Nights, and we have Fnaf 1 remake. Now, we're gonna probably try and do like 30 minutes. Bro can't read. Shut up. But we're gonna try and do like a 30 minutes. So it'll be like a 3-hour stream, hopefully. And yeah, as the stream says, we've got some special guests coming. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Dawn is currently on her way, which is really funny. But yeah, Sky has very kindly provided the list of 5 games to play, so I had to download them last night. Hopefully it works very well. But yeah, we're still in Everyday August. Reminder, if we hit $400, I have to do a Roblox stream, so please donate. We're at $305 so far, which is crazy. It's like literally the first week of August. And we have $300. We're 3/10. We're over a quarter of the way there, which is insane. So, yeah. I think that's pretty neat. I just gotta quickly go grab something. Hold on.
Wow, that was wild. So, we're gonna start stream, huh? Hey gamers. Oh god, you can hear music. You can hear sounds. That's weird. That's so wild. Anyway, we're playing video games. We're gonna play Five Nights at Frederick's. We got I will do Too Many Nights first, actually. I think we're gonna start with Too Many Nights. Game. So as you know, I take forever to just get the game loaded, get everything good and ready. I can never remember my setup. Wait, that one does
Gaming.
something.
Gaming. Hit the
I hit that one. That's awesome. And then I hit the button. That's so cool. And then nothing.
You might have to hide Elgato visibility.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay. It's already going well.
It's going great.
Yeah,
you have the mouse. You do it.
It's brilliant. So yeah, I'm not actually playing any games tonight.
This is very. Oh,
Is
yo,
it not
it's
gonna
so.
show up? Come on, game. Is there a full screen option? Because if not, I'll just.
There might be.
Alright, whatever. I'll fix it. Check this shit out.
Yeah.
Come on, where is it? Show up.
Christ.
I love games that don't do anything like this. Where is full screen?
No full screen. I can play. Oh. Whoa.
Show up, please, game.
Whoa.
Please. Why is it not showing up? Usually it does.
Oh, I have to do
Window
thumbs up
capture.
here. Damn, that's weird.
Yeah, you're sure.
Oh, this is weird.
Okay, we've got it.
Yay.
We've got it. We've got gaming. Fit to screen. Why has it done that?
Oh, that's awesome. So cool.
Boom.
Yay!
Gaming. Alright, bye guys.
Let's go. Alright, hang on. I need to change the controls because I have very specific controls for the mask. No cat suddenly there. Hey gamers, it's Sky, your favorite Sky, the only Sky in the world. Okay, well, that's cool. Can I not use you? What the hell did I use for the... Sorry, hey. The mask. Oh fuck, what have I done? Did I fuck it up? No, we're fine.
Hey guys, listen to this sound.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it just doesn't like the letter Q. That's awesome. Alright, well, we're gonna go back to shift then, I guess. We're going to turn on that, and we're gonna turn on that. And we're gonna turn that one off, because I don't need that. I don't care. Okay. Thanks, God. That's awesome. So cool. Yeah, so we're playing Too Many Nights. This is a game by It Dear. It's a roguelike Fnaf fan game. We're gonna go with Cassidy. This is so loud. Oh my god. Bro's headphones are so loud. This guy...
Turn it down.
How do I turn it down? You think I know anything?
There's a knob right here.
There's a thing. What the fuck? Whoa. Okay. Anyway, Cassidy, if I die, I die. Lizzie is free. Oh, okay. We're gonna go with Coral because office characters. Coral appears in the door, closed door. Liz, if you have your camera up, you gotta flash the little babies. And Roy is pretty easy. So, we'll do that. 1 penalty. Those, I'm used to seeing them. Alright. Let's go, let's play Fnaf gamers. So, we want Roy. Where is this bastard? And I've died! Let's go!
You did it, you lost.
I've lost. Damn, I completely forgot that they're gonna be so much faster. Oh, okay. Let's go Percy.
Pico is here.
Pico's here, by the way. This is the real streamer.
He's just sitting in my arms. Nice.
Sweet baby.
$30. We'll switch to Pico.
I don't want to do melee.
I'll show you.
I also don't want to do Cyrex, but we'll do Cyrex. Really sucks. Entity sucks. The dual person. Yeah. Percy does fuck all. Okay. Where are we? Okay, cool. And I died because I forgot the mask control. Yay! Alright, we're gonna play Michael. Where's Michael? My friend, Michael. So we get down.
$50 and I'll stop constantly groaning the tube.
I will stop roading my tube.
We're gonna do a camera setup. Damn. So we've got our boy Roy. Non-gendered, I don't actually remember. Oh, that's this one. Okay, that's fine. Person, we've got to flash the flashlight to keep this guy away from our office. Flash flashlight on this one. Oh, I don't have the thing. Flashlight on this one to keep them down. And, Noelle, we gotta give it the scissors. That's the sound of Roy leaving. Let's go, let's go. Really showing off my gamer skills. Eventually, Funny Noelle will appear. Funny Noelle. Yeah, and this is why I tried to do Cassidy first, but I haven't played this game in a hot while. I'm very rusty, but it's okay. If you're hoping to see funny Matthew reactions... Oh, there we go. Now we gotta get the scissors away. No funny Matthew reactions, unfortunately. He is passed away.
I'm fucking dead!
So, yeah. If you will attend his funeral, where I've actually organised it for next week, Saturday. So if you're all free, we're gonna be... Oh, good. Yeah, if you're free...
Sorry!
If you're free, we're gonna, do something to him, I guess. Oh no, funeral, that's it. We're doing the funeral. We'll do the rites. It will be open casket, and we will be streaming it. What does he do again? I just gotta watch him. Okay, that's easy. I don't want to do that one. But we're gonna do that one. That's fine. I don't remember what the other option is. Then we've got Freddy Fazbear. We just gotta look at him, make sure he doesn't be mean. Where are the scissors? There they are. Okay. So now we gotta look at Rabbit and look at Freddy. And is that pizza?
Can I grab this?
Oh yeah, you can grab some. Do you want to show off Luca and your My Scoliosis Princess? Oh my god, it does make noise! Holy shit! That's awesome!
Totally.
Whoa, that's so cool. Yes, this is fudge.
It's a different one.
Yeah. Phantom says this in the game. Where this is? Scissors. Here. Okay. This is a very fun game. The nights are only 1 minute long.
I have an idea.
There's a cat. Yeah. Video game. This one's a fun one. This is a very not scary game. Jump scare wise. Hang on. Let me get this. Yeah. Because it's just not very scary. Whoa! Scissors are here. Very convenient. I love it when this does this. Only... What am I looking at? Okay. Only problem is, since I've got a very, very camera setup. Yeah, sometimes I still hear his voice. It's so sad. We'll do melatonin. Yeah, very, Robo Cupcakes is easier to do. We'll do cupcakes. Well, I'm here. Pronouns. She, everyone knows Freddy Fazbear. It is it's. She, he. Okay, cool. And it's just the Freddy Fazbear. I have $9. I don't want any of those. Okay. And I can't afford them. Or, what are we doing, gamers? Scissors. Okay. Robo Cupcakes, we only have to worry about when she, appears. Scissors is in the kitchen. Yeah. Wrong one. That's my problem with games like this, is I always get panicked and I do the wrong commands. Thanks, Bampton. Somebody wants scissors. Oh! Convenient! There's a penalty you can get that every time this character appears, it will- Hey, Freddy! Damn it, I wasn't looking at him enough. Every time that character appears, it will pull the camera down, which is very convenient for me, if it gets that it exists. Thanks, Bampton. That's so cool. Have your
I
scissors.
wasn't expecting it to repeat that much. Oh, you saw.
Pretty fast. Come back here. Oh, I gotta find the fucking scissors. There they are. Okay. We're all good. And the night's probably nearly over, I think it is. You know there's a unique song for every character for every night? It just like slowly builds up. It's pretty cool. I keep forgetting that it's like here. It's weird. I've gotta like raise my hand. Bop! Never pull down the monitor. Awesome. Alright, we're stuck in the monitor, gamers. Never pull it down, or it'll be very inconvenient for me, because then I'll have to remember Bop exists. Anytime I pull down the monitor, there's a chance the Bop will appear in the window and then dash to one of the... back there. Dash to one of the doors. Where was the scissors? There. That's my phone. I'm such a good streamer. Who? You want scissors. That's the scissors sound. That's the sound of somebody who wants... Oh! It's scissors. Which happen to be over here now, so that's convenient. Yes, don't pull it on the monitor. Good idea. Great idea, don't do that. I don't know what that uh-oh was in reference to. I'm so sorry. I'm such a good streamer. I haven't streamed in literally, years. But I'm here now. I'm what you get. Unless you donate $5, in which case you will get the last remaining gamer. I need to find the scissors. There they are. The last remaining gamer, which is Squawkatapoose. The tuber. The tube groaner. Oh, good timing. Bye, Freddy. Freddy Fazbear. Freddy Fazbear. Get back here. Freddy Fazbear. I need to find the scissors again. Yeah, we're still late enough in the night. Yep, there it is. Okay. Stay there. There we are. I don't really have to do that, but... 6 AM! What night are we on? Night 5. Night 5 is when everything goes to shit, usually. Everyone's on 3, Popcake's on 2, Bop is, negligible. I don't want CG. I don't want Amber, so I guess we're gonna have to do Lydia. Lydia's annoying. Instead of taking... No. I also don't want that anymore, actually. I don't want that, so... Insta-kill. We'll take it. Oh yeah, I forgot about the fucking posters. Holy shit.
5 Nights at Freddy.
5 Nights at Freddy.
I can't wait to hang this on my wall.
5 Nights at Freddy. And that's Lydia. We gotta deal with Lydia now. What is this? There. 5 Nights at Freddy. The fuck? Oh, that was me. I did that. Okay. And that's Lydia. Lydia's gonna start banging. Oh shit! Oh, that was the sound of no. Oh, god damn it! I died. Noelle. That was Noelle's sound cue that I completely ignored. I thought it was Roy. I'm a fool. I'm a buffoon. Scissors down there. Okay. Freddy Fazbear. Down here. Okay. Freddy Fazbear. Doing so fine. Thanks, gamer. You can't see the thumbs up. There it is. Shit, that's the scissors. Have it. Oh no, don't come here! Go back! Oh, I don't remember where I meant to drag Roy. God, I hate Lydia. Do I drag you here? How do I get you back into the fucking room, dude? Roy, can you not? Oh, that's Freddy Fazbear. I guess we're gonna put everyone in the same fucking room. That's fine. I want them there. That's cool. One of the rooms Freddy goes into... Fuck! That was Noelle sound cue again. You know, it's hard when you've got Lydia banging on the frickin' cage. And you can't actually look at it. Did I even know where Noelle's scissors were? Damn, it's fine. We're good. We're fine, gamers. Look at Freddy Fazbear. Look at Rita. Look at Freddy Fazbear. We got it. We got this. Gamers, we got this. We are so good in gaming with it. We got this. That is the sound of someone who wants its scissors. There we are. That's the sound of Lydia being annoying. But it's fine because Lydia can bloody well wait. It's one of the things I hate about Lydia is that you literally are just meant to wait until... Hello? Can you go back? Yeah, you gotta like wait for it. Scissors. Grab them. Okay. Nope, go back. And scissors are here. Okay, awesome. Whew! We did this. We do this. We do this. We do this. We got this. No, go back. Go back. Whew! Okay, we gotta listen out for Noelle. That is not Noelle. That is Freddy Fazbear! You bastard! Okay, well, Freddy's out. Freddy will eventually... Where is he? There he is. Freddy will eventually come to this room, which is why I'm not too worried about him leaving. It's just that's one of the last stops before he gets to the door. I do not want Shrimp. I do not want Bonnie. This is the night we die, gamers, and I really don't want the entity because I really don't know how the entity works. I've not tested the entity very well. I don't know how they work. Bonnie is the only other monitor-only character. Shrimp is just going to kill me because I'm not taking my monitor down. How are we on time? When did we start stream? Oh, fuck. I'm gonna keep playing. Alright, okay. Let's you remove an enemy. That's pretty good, actually. Gain a life. No, don't want on. Who do I want to get rid of, though? Who is really the worst? Well, Noah's killed me twice, but... Lydia's the one that's... I don't want Bonnie. Let's get rid of Bonnie. I don't want to deal with Bonnie. Oh, right. Do I choose? Do I get to choose? Let's you remove... Yeah, I do. Okay. Can I choose? Here we are. Bob. I don't want to deal with Bonnie. Bonnie and Chica are just annoying. I don't want to deal with them. So we're just gonna have the same setup as before. Scissors is here. Okay. And we're gonna look at Freddy. We're going to look at Freddy. We're gonna ignore Lydia. We're going to give the scissors. Can you stop? Lydia, can you look the fuck out?
Can you lock the fuck?
Lydia, I need you to be so cool right now. I don't know what this is though. Shoot. Yeah. Can you stop running away, please? Oh, and they're here now. Can you, like, stop running away? Sorry.
Are you
I'm on night 6? Stop running away. You've got one job, and that's to not run. No? I swear to fuck. Okay, thank you, Lydia. Freddy's over here now, so Rory's gonna go wherever Freddy goes. Because I'm not dealing with two people at once. Or rather, that's exactly what I want. No, get back here. Thank you. That's exactly what I want to do. Scissors! Scissors! Good timing. Freddy is here now, so that's cool. Can you stop it? Lydia? Thanks, Lydia. Nope, get back there. That's night 6. Night 7! We're on night 7. Oh. Oh, I don't want Onion. And I really don't want Swag Man. Alright, we're gonna do Onion and then we're gonna die instantly, but we're gonna try our best. Go over here. Scissors, and I've gotta remember the closed doors. Okay. Okay. Get back here. Okay, we're gonna ignore that was our cool friend Onion. I gotta check on Rita. Come on, I gotta check on Rita. Thank you. Thank you. No, I don't want you here. Right. I'm so fucking glad I remembered that. Where the fuck does Roy go? Alright, well, Roy's coming here now, and I guess Freddy also would be going there if I remembered Noel. Let's go. That's night 7, and I've still got more playing to do, so that's cool. Yeah, I just died to Noel. It's heartbreaking. That was a good run, though. Now we have night 7, night 6 on Michael. That doesn't unlock anyone, but that's pretty cool. Elizabeth. I don't know what my stats are on Elizabeth. Let's go back to Cassidy, I think. We're gonna do Melatonin, Percy, and we're going to do a character that I don't need to worry about. If I don't have the mask down, let's see. Aggressive. Check the I don't want to do that. Definitely don't want that one. These are just rough. So we're gonna go with Percy. Percy's fine. Percy is fine and will never hurt me. I've just gotta listen to more sound cues, which is great and awesome. So, Melatonin's on that side. This one.
Fish!
Thanks. Oh, that's great. That's so good. Alright, Melatonin's gone. I've also got to count with Melatonin's the other problem. 2. I've got to count the 3, because the third one is when it actually appears, and then you hear the knock. So this is, yeah, so since Elizabeth is, that's the other side, 1. Since Elizabeth only appears if you had the camera up at some point, that was 3, I think. Yeah. I don't have to worry about Elizabeth yet. Lizzie. 1, 2. And Melatonin's moving so fast because this character makes all of them be max aggression. Which is cool and awesome. 1. My phone keeps going. Who the fuck is messaging me? It's probably Discord. Oh, it's Dawn? Yo, it's not Discord. It's fucking... That's probably... If you lose count, then I'm like, fuck, where is Melatonin? Okay. Well, we're all good. Night done. Oh, that was Squoctopus, bastard. Who are we gonna do? They're all camera characters. Bonnie, you've gotta watch him in the camera. Mura, you have to actively be in the cameras for a while. And Cupcake appears with a sound cue. But I'm really not gonna be paying attention, is the problem. Nope, I need all those being banned. Bitty Babs. I don't want that one. Can't afford that, and I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do random number counting, but I guess we're gonna do random number counting. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you very much for the subscription, you bastard. I don't even remember what other character I just added. So that's cool. Oh, it was Pupcakes, wasn't it? There we go. Okay, cool. You. Where are we? We want that one. 3. Okay. 3 this time. 1, 2. 3. Kinda due for a Pupcakes anytime now. Did it not go? Did you not? Oh, you did. Okay, 2. 1. 2. There we go. Can you fuck off? Thanks, bro. What do you say? 4. Ah. 1. 2. 3. Not worrying. 4. Okay. No. There we are. Pupcake? No. Let's let you go. Back in the groove, baby. Okay. So, let's add more camera characters. Let's add Roy. I think Roy goes to this room, so that's fine. Yeah, she can stay. This is stage 1. So I cannot afford to expunge a character, so... Okay. Cool. So, we've got to check... Okay, no, that's fine. We'll just stay in Melatonin's space. Yeah. So we'll just move Roy back every single time. That's fine. Yeah. Thank you. That's a 2. Okay. That's 1. Knock. Fuck off. Ay, ay, ay. No! 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 Fuck! It's fine. I don't... You were just doing it. Where are you? Where are you? Come back. Damn it. I don't know Roy's patterns. I don't know where Roy goes. I don't know where Roy goes. And that was night 2. Not enough. Not enough. Alright. Office run. Coral is fine. Liz is fine. Lydia sucks. Marionette sucks. All of these characters suck. Sparky is the worst. Marionette is like fine, I guess. I'll do Marionette. I'll do Marionette. Caroline. Yeah, that's fine. I just gotta check in once in a while. That's fine. Whatever. Those are fine, actually. Curly's, and I have the camera down. No, okay. Did I select? Oh god. The baby tabs. Where are they? There we are. So, we've got a music box. And we've got to look out our doors. So anytime Coral is there, basically, we'll just have a check. We'll wait for Coral, wind up the box, close it, and get rid of the baby babs. Fine. You know, this is fine. This works. This works for at least this night, and sometimes that's all you have to worry about. This one always trips me out, but that's just Maple. Maple. That was me getting bored and being silly and goofy with it. Coral. Coral? Coral. No Coral. There we are. Okay. Pretty cool and awesome. Pretty cool and awesome. Okay. Pretty good. This will last maybe 2 nights, if I'm lucky. At least I don't have to worry about power most of these nights. Because of the aforementioned 1 minute length. And Coral doesn't even need a flashlight, so you know. Could be worse. I don't like Osam. I don't want any of these characters though, so we're gonna go off the character I keep forgetting. I'd die anyway if that happens. I need footsteps or I will go insane. Okay. Put it on there, and that's Osam. That guy is just gonna keep walking left to right. Where's my friend Coral? That's pretty cool. Yeah, you stay on that side. Okay. And you just gotta close the door when they're too close. That's pretty cool. Music box, music box, music box, music box, music box. Okay, cool. Okay. Thank you. Music box. Baby. Awesome. Osam, thank you for finally going to the right side. Okay. Osam's a lot easier to deal with when it's a lot slower. We're all good. We're all good. We're all good. We are fine. Osam's gone to the correct side again. You are there. Baby is down there. Wind up the box. Baby. Put the mouse on the wrong screen, so that was a little rough. Whew. Okay, that's another night. We're gaming. We got night 3. We've got Shrimp. Okay, so these are very good characters to have been given. So we've got all very office-based characters. We've got Shrimp appears visually, will appear at that door. Maggie, who will appear, will run across the window, which we really don't need to be keeping track of sides any more than we already are. Same with Melatonin. We're gonna go with Shrimp. Shrimp and Coral are rough, but that's fine. Yeah, we'll go with opposite door, I guess, because I don't want to have to move the camera around. And I don't want that. Can I expunge a character? No, I cannot. Cool. Alright, move it to the music box, and mentally prepare to have a shrimp in my room. Okay. Okay, cool. And wind up the box. And open the door, and close that one. Cool. Cool. Awesome. Baby. Shrimp. Wrong character. Coral. Fuck. Okay. Shrimp will go away eventually. Shit. Cool. We're good. We're going good. Hi, Dawn. That's very cool to see you. Shit. What is that? No. Oh, fuck. One of the babies. We're fine. 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 Go away, babies. Go away, babies. Okay. That's my alarm. So I have medication I'm supposed to be taking, but I am kind of in the middle of Five Nights at Freddy's, fan game. It's fine. We're good. That's gonna go off in the next 10 minutes. Again. Whew. Oh, fuck.
Well, it is time to swap games.
Oh, thank God. Now I can play a harder game. Oh, great. Let me turn off my alarms for my medication, which I do not have, because I am a fool and I have so much memory. Okay, cool. Let's get rid of that alarm, and let's get rid of that alarm, and let's set an alarm later tonight for me to actually remember to take my meds. No more too many nights. Oh, fuck, come on, I was on a good streak. No! Oh, and I did absolutely fuck up the capture, I think. Cool, so that's good. I accidentally full screened that, so it's just like a little cut off. Well, that's fine. These characters, well, no, not really. I guess we're just gonna die. So I guess pick who you want me to die to. That's cool. Let's do Big Shrimpin'. Who do we want to die to? I'm gonna die to Shrimp because nobody said anything. Okay, cool. Liz is gone. I'm gonna let Shrimp kill me. I'm gonna try to at least. Depends on what the Coral RNG says. Alright. Come on, Shrimp. Come on, Shrimp. You up, Shrimpin'? There we go. Shrimp has killed us, and we can go home. Continues to menu. Let's get out of this game. Let's go. Let's quit. Next, a video game. For the video game list.
A game.
A game. We're gonna play Five Nights at Frederick's, I think. We're gonna play Five Nights at Frederick's. I'm gonna run it anyway, because, it's fine. All Fnaf fan games do this, actually. It's quite fitting. Cool. Oh, F. Press F, and then...
Work. Yay!
Yay! So this is a new game that came out pretty recently, actually. Let's do that one. Yeah, sure. Turn the music down. And we're definitely gonna turn the jump scares down because I don't actually know what these ones are like. So, alone. Alright. I only know how to play 2 nights of this, so let's go. Here's our book. This tells us how to play it. Oh no, all the stuff has been ripped out. We gotta look at the back. Make sure the pizza is cooking. That's Cam 5. Make sure anyone suspicious... Oh, zap anyone suspicious indoors or vents. Cam 10 is the vent one. So that's where Freddy goes. Case of emergency, use the sprinklers. Power is limited, don't waste it. If you get stuck, read this. So... Here's our funny little thing. Chica has humanized, so we want to cook. That's what we want to do. So... I think that one is just funny. So... I'm gonna wait for the pizza sound, and then we're gonna cook the pizzas. And that's this. That's it for this one. As far as I know. Pretty cool. No one's left. Yeah, there we go. That's pizza sound. Look at our funny little guys. There's a endo. That's the... Oh, okay. We have sprinklers on every single one. Hey, look, gambling! Hey, look, gambling. Bunny's still chilling. Chilling. Hang on. awesome noises. I'm sure if Wag could hear this, he would be appreciating it. But unfortunately he cannot because he's dead. And that's so sad, and we're all saddened by it. I'm starting to think Dawn is— oh! Bonnie's out! Let's go! Bonnie, like, moves pretty fucking quickly in regards to, like, grabbing that door, that, entryway. So that's gonna be— ooh, pizza! So that's gonna be cool and fun and awesome to watch. Whoa, he's moving! Look at him! Look at that funny little guy. He's got, like, a horn. Pretty cool. Yo, this got games on this TV. What the fuck? It's pretty cool. Yep, Bonnie's there. Pretty cool. Don't gotta worry yet. Whoop! That's a pizza sound. I'm pretty sure Bonnie's there and they want this night. Wow, it's so cool. Whoa, he's moved again. Wow! That was pretty cool. I hope you liked that, gamers. You know, you can— whoa, what game is that? Not a party. Whoa, we got pizza! Let's go! And it's back to the normal. I know that one of these is a Frick Bears— or Five Nights at Frick Bears free demo, but pretty cool, pretty cool. So how's your day been, you know? Mine's pretty cool. I had work, I had a meeting that did not happen, and then I had another meeting and everyone was pretty stressed out. So that was pretty cool. You know, things that I cannot say, and then I'll just insert some more things that I cannot say in regards to my role at the— where the fuck is Bonnie? Oh, there he is. Damn, dude! What the fuck? You moved so fast. When the fuck did you get there? Anyway, yeah. So that's cool. Oh, pizza's done! Yeah, pretty cool. Bonnie's chilling. Bonnie's on his way. I like the designs. They're not my kind of style, but they are— what the fuck? Huh? Huh? I've never seen that before. What the fuck? What just happened? Okay, well that was pretty cool. I hope you all liked that secret achievement that I just got. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Yeah, you know I'm bad with horror games. I'm not actually very good at playing horror games. I'm pretty scared core, all the time. Hey Bonnie, please go away. Okay, so that's pretty chill. Bonnie's here. Whew! 62%. That's not great pace, but I'll be free. Yo, pizza's done. Let's go. Where is he? He's this side. Alright, Bonnie goes to both sides of the door. That's something good to note and to remember about Bonnie. Good old Bon Bon. What is this? Yep, still there. Pretty cool. Yep, cool. Go wait for that pizza. This does feel nice to play. The controls are very responsive. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very snappy and nice. So I do appreciate that. Oh, where are you? Alright, Bonnie's over there now. Bonnie's one step away from my beautiful doorway. Doorless doorway. He will be here eventually. And I will be so scared with it. Okay, well. Cook that pizza. Gotta cook that pizza. Hey dude, you gonna like... Alright. Funny little guy. Funny little guy. Hey. There we are. Alright, where have you gone to where's the frickety... Oh! That's cool. I haven't seen that before. That's a pretty cool sprite. I could have cooked some pizza, Bonnie, if you don't mind. So that's pretty cool. You're just gonna chill with the endo? Okay, awesome. I gotta deal with that tomorrow. That's awesome. Yay! We did it! That's very loud. We did it! We completed one night. Whoa! We get to unlock Felix now! And the endoskeleton. Felix is this funny guy. What the fuck are you doing? So that's cool. Yeah, so that's what Chica does. She will try and burn the place down. This guy will pop up, like, just like in the side of the room to be like, hey dude, my, gaming isn't going. What the fuck? Hey, where's this funny little guy? Oh, you're still down there, okay. Yeah, can you... Okay, I don't know if I actually needed to do that, but that's what's happening right now. Oh, that was just Bonnie. Okay, cool. Where are you? There. Cool. Cool. I don't know if it's obvious that I'm not very chill right now, but that's fine. Bonnie's there, you're fine. I hear noises, and I don't like it. Didn't she, like, stop being in that camera? Oh, you know what? I'm probably not meant to look at her. That's probably what part of her mechanic is if I hear that she's in there, I'm not meant to look. That's probably what I'm meant to do with her. Whoops. Well, what a shame, I did not pay attention to that. What the fuck? Okay. Okay, cool. Oh, yeah, you need your games. There you go. Sometimes you need your games, you know how it be. Someone's on their way. That dude is still sleeping, just napping on the job. I've got pizza to cook, Bonnie. Do you mind? Cool. Yeah. The answer is he does in fact mind. Chica's there. Where's my funny little bunny? Alright, you're gonna wake up the Ender skeleton. Woo! I would love it if someone donated. Can they stop jump scaring me? What the fuck? I'm literally playing that game. Come on, man. I'm literally playing the game. Yeah, they're just chilling. They're having fun. They've got interesting camera noises, I've just realized. If you donate $5, I don't have to play this anymore. Someone else can do it, and that would be cool, I think. And I think we should do that. Pizza! Oh, the funny little guy is out. And over there, so that guy is gonna appear soon. I don't know if it visually appears in the doorways, I cannot remember, but it does make some sort of noise. That one? Oh, no, that's you. Okay, cool. Oh, you're still there. Awesome. That's a pizza. Do. I wonder if you can make the horror sound. I don't like hearing noises. You ever hear noises? Sucks. That's probably Chica, and I'm going to assume it is. That's a pizza. Whoa, hey! Please get a little zapping with it. Where are you now? Oh, you're cleaning. That's nice. That's pretty cool. How is it only 3 AM? Oh god. Time goes so much faster when you are not the one, video gaming it. Why? Oh, I completely forgot that that's one of Matthew's things. Cool. You're cleaning, you're good. You're pizza. Okay. Cool. Alright, so Bonnie and Endo have very obvious tells. Funny Foxy also has very obvious I don't know what the name for Bonnie is in this game, because they're all German. But so far, everything has an obvious tell. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, dude. Yeah. Oh, there we go! Hey! Bonnie, you gonna come join me? Yeah. That's pretty cool. Oh, there he is. Hey. Aw. Hey, dude. You need your games? I got it. Dude! I hadn't even looked at- oh, fuck. You motherfucker. Sorry. I say fuck a lot, and I haven't realized how much more I swear than Matthew. It's kinda wild.
Swear a lot.
I swear way more than Matthew, and it's kind of crazy. Can you go... Dude, oh shoot, that's what the sprinklers do. Oh, I need to be careful with this video game. Yeah, we have a high moisture content, and that's no good. Pretty cool. Yeah, I just dropped the F-bomb way more than I thought I did. And that's, interesting. Bonnie's gonna kill me. Okay, well, we're gonna see what his jump scare looks like now. That's pretty cool. Bonnie. Yeah. I probably have to, like, put it down, but, you know, we're at 5 a.m. Heat is rising. Yo!
$5 donation.
Yay! Oh my god, we beat the night! That's insane. We actually beat the night.
Nice.
We should not have beat the night.
Well,
Okay,
time to play video
I'm out.
games.
Sky's out, gamers. I've got 10 million notifications.
Now it is your turn to play video games.
Now it's your turn to play the video game.
What am I playing?
You're playing Five Nights at Frederick's. Well, you know, if you were, like, watching me.
No.
So
on the
this...
headset.
It's on fire! Oh my god, what do I do? So we're going to the camera and we're going to turn the sprinklers on. Or we're not. Okay, no, it's going to die, so... Well, you started at night 3, so, you know, maybe if you were paying attention.
You hate me. So,
Up to wag would be playing.
should I press new game or continue?
I think continue, because I've already played the first two.
You can play the first. You can play either night 3 or you can just play the first night again. It's completely up to you. If you want to learn the mechanics.
Yeah. Or I just, like,
While we're waiting for something interesting to happen, my name is Squoctopus, and I'm the most qualified one here. I accidentally put my entire body weight on top of Pico like 2 minutes ago, and I feel really bad, and I kind of wanted to cry, but everything's okay. No! What do I do?
Go into the camera! Oh, you're right.
No, what do I do?
So when it starts to get hot, before it starts flaming, you want to go into the camera and you want to put the sprinklers on.
Oh.
So that's what Chica does. Chica's going to try and set fire to the place. So go into the camera. Go into the camera.
I'm in the camera.
Alright. You see the box sprinkler?
No.
The other side. Yeah, you see that one? So you don't want to press that when you don't need to.
Oh.
And you only want to put the camera. There's a guy. Whoa, what the? Oh yeah, that's the endoskeleton, and it's just warm your skin. Sorry. Hang on.
This is going so well.
Yeah, so.
Do you want to
Oh, no,
start
I
another game?
You want to stop doing it? I just want to stop.
Okay, I got this.
Yeah, you got this.
Okay,
No.
one of them
So
moved.
that's
Ah!
Chica's trying to set fire to the
Oh.
endoskeleton you will see in the office. So when you push the camera down and you look to the left and right, if you see a funny little guy in your doorway, that on the left hand script that go well, I really want to set fire. And that's it. Oh, if you get a fox in your office, go to the fox camera and put the wheel on. That's camera 3. The spin that spin wheel button. When you have a fox in your office, that spin wheel button will be open.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, so there is gambling. Oh, cook pizza. Should I cook a pizza?
Oh yeah, you should also
Okay.
that's fine. Or not. The endoskeleton, I'm waiting for it.
What?
Probably gets introduced on this night. Oh.
Do you want to switch games?
Yeah, you might want to switch games.
Probably
Okay.
better if you switch games.
What do I play then?
So there's everything except for Five Nights
Get out of that.
Freddy's.
What?
Yeah,
Go
get out of
back.
that folder.
Yep. know what I was talking about, so I had to put it on stream.
So don't pick
Okay.
Friedrichs, or Too Many Nights. So
You should play
Uh,
Frick Bears 3.
Oh, that looks like easy.
That's the point.
Fine, yeah. Well, Five Nights.
oh,
More
Yeah.
info.
More info and run
Run
anyway.
anyway. You're learning
I
how
was-
to run my thing.
oh yeah.
You thought I
Bear
had a
in
bad time.
mind. Yeah, I hope it is.
You thought I had a hard time. with
Ads
it.
not showing up.
Because you gotta press a
You said it
button.
was a video game.
Hopefully. No.
Is it full screen? There we go.
There it is. Now
There
you
you
can
go.
see it.
Oh,
There are
slay.
so many FNAF fan games.
There are.
Too many, in fact.
So, fun fact, something that I tend to follow is the max mode list, which is FNAF max modes. If you know Five Nights at Freddy's, that's all the animatronics, all 4 of them on 20 difficulty. Or if you know Ultimate Custom Light, that's 50-20. Those are pretty low on the max mode list in terms of difficulty. Five Nights at Frederick's, fun fact, is number 50 on the max mode list currently.
I don't know how to work it. I kept pressing.
Yeah, you want it,
We
right?
can't work.
No, but it wouldn't
Selecting
move.
your character won't get live.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. No, people.
Get your reading skills on Jeremy.
Be a streamer.
Now you may be wondering, gosh, Jeremy, what's a fellow like you doing working at a place like this? Well, it's quite simple, really. My tuition wouldn't pay for itself, so I figured it was the perfect time to get a summer job. Well, another summer job. The last couple never seemed to end well. First there was that time. Wait. First there was that. I can't read! You're making me read and I can't do it!
You want me to read it?
First there was that time that old lady's nails almost poked my eye out. And that time I've got a process. Can you read that?
At that time I spilled that scalding hot coffee all over my face. Then that mishap with the knives, that was a close one. And that one time the car I was chauffeuring got hijacked. I'm gonna have to click it myself, I guess. I have to like. That accident I got into during that other chauffeuring job that sent me hurtling through the windshield was that old lady who was carrying a big tray of hot coffee and knives. But on the bright side, my time in the hospital gave me plenty of time to send out applications. And wouldn't you know it, this one got accepted. I'm confident that this will finally be the one. The Kitty Pizza place is just about as safe as it gets, after all. Hey, you know what they say? 13 times the charm. Oh, right, what are we doing standing out here in the rain? There's mascots to be monitored.
Real.
Alright, that's all the talking for this night. Until you finish the game.
Oh, huzzah.
There's only 2 nights. Go.
Oh, okay.
It's a demo, so. Used to be 132 on the main list.
Hello?
I don't know where it is.
Hello?
Um,
Hey, I hope this
anything
message finds you well.
150,
Now, I've got a salvaging job in the morning, and I imagine you got a long night ahead of you, so for the both of our sakes, I'll try to make this brief. First and foremost, your job. I'm sure your manager already went over this, but wouldn't hurt to cover it again. So you, as the night watchman here, have 2 duties. Keeping intruders out, and keeping all our equipment in here safe. Most notable of which, of course, being our animatronic band. You see, the
Okay.
animatronic characters here, you may notice they tend to move around at night. Don't fret, it's completely normal.
I
Oh,
Even
got this,
animatronics
yeah.
need their exercise. Stops their mechanisms from locking up when they need to perform in the morning. Saves our maintenance crew a
Oh,
lot
that was
of
a
hassle.
noise.
Now, that
What should I
normally
do
wouldn't
if I
be
hear
an
a
issue
noise?
for you.
Oh!
But our animatronics, well, they also have a tendency to wander to parts of the building they aren't supposed to be in, which might also include your office. Because of that, you'll want to keep an eye on them with your cameras. Just make sure they aren't straying too far away from their intended areas. And if one reaches the doorway to your office, it might be a good idea to close either of those handy mechanical doors. There should be one on both sides of your office. They stop almost any animatronic. Just close them, wait for the
Ooh.
thunk, and the animatronics should go right back to their stage. Only close them if you absolutely need to, though. The doors drain power, and
How do I
power
play
isn't
mine?
something you've got a lot of. And I say almost every animatronic, because there
I
is
don't know
one
what I
that's a
did.
little
Oh,
special, though it
it's
isn't hard to
going.
deal with. Just click that reset music button on the
I don't know
entrance
what I
camera every
did.
once in a while, and it should leave you be. Now, if you're wondering why a place like this needs heavy-duty mechanical doors, or what all
I
these other
managed
tools
to
you have at your
do
disposal
something,
are,
and now
my answer
I
to
don't
both
know.
these questions is, don't worry about it. You probably won't need to use them tonight anyway. We just want to make sure our guards are safe and have the means to defend themselves against any threat that comes their way.
I can't
I do like, burglars, vandals.
Yeah,
those kind of
it's
threats.
still talking.
Other than that, the only thing you really have to worry about is your temperature. AC shot, so you have to rely on your fan. Just turn it on every so often, it should cool you right
I don't
back
know,
down.
I managed
Just
to,
don't
like,
leave it
click
on for
out of
too
the game,
long,
I
it drains
think.
power too.
You do that.
Oh yeah, and while all you should really need tonight are the cameras and doors, feel free to flip through the
Lovely.
We run it back. Why is it so fucking small?
Have you considered your monitor is big?
Yeah, Oh, is it?
I don't know how to move the options. Oh.
You can remap the controls. I've changed the graphics to full screen. So
I
yeah,
like.
it should work fine. It says it's full screen, so nothing's changed.
See, like, survive till...
Hello?
Scaling.
Hello? Hey, I hope this is...
Milk call.
Oh.
Oh, now I don't actually know what to do.
Close the... It's just... close
Okay.
the door when animatronic appear, and when you get a warning sign, do them.
Okay. Does that, like, just pop up? Like, anywhere? Or do I have to-
don't know. It might pop up as a very bottom.
Okay.
Or it might pop up only in the camera,
How do I play mine?
so... it's in the camera.
Ah.
So in the cameras, you have at the very bottom, cameras then stop the game. Minesweeper. Red color. Yeah, you can't really shoot instructions.
Yeah.
Minesweeper! Yay!
I sort of know how to play Minesweeper. Woo! Never mind. Never mind, I'm stupid and I don't know.
I don't know how to play Minesweeper. I know how you're supposed to.
Wait. Okay, so the three... I've forgotten the order of, like, the numbers. Like, which one is bad.
No.
I need to remember how to play it.
So the number.
Oh, is that what it means? I've
So
been
if there's-
thinking of it like...
So you see this one here? That means there's one
Oh,
bomb
wait, there's
in
something
the
go-
8 squares.
There's something.
If... Yeah, that's...
Okay.
Now you know what
Awesome.
happens.
So 3 means that there's 3 bombs in that, like, 8 squares.
Oh, cool.
So, like, there's one bomb in those 8 squares. So it's one of these. So, like, obviously these 3 are bombs. So that's what one bomb in there. So that one's not a bomb because that one's already the bomb.
Mm.
So there's 3, and then those 2 are bombs. So one of these is a bomb.
That's fully epic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you hear anything?
Bonnie.
Well, probably, but I was too busy.
You were too busy learning how to play Minecraft.
Yeah.
Well, now you know how to play Minesweeper, and you can get me the first
Play
night.
Minesweeper.
First night.
Oh. Wait, what do I listen out for?
Hello? Hello? Hey, I hope this message finds you well. Now, I've got a salvaging job in the morning,
Okay.
and I imagine you got a long night ahead of you, so for the both of our sakes, I'll try to make this brief. First and foremost, your job. I'm sure your manager already went over this, but wouldn't hurt to cover it again. So you, as the night watchman here, have two duties. Keeping intruders out, and keeping all our equipment in here safe. Most notable of which, of course, being our animatronic band. You see, the animatronic characters here, you may notice they tend to move around
Ooh, I
at
didn't
night.
actually
Don't
notice
fret,
that.
it's completely normal. Even animatronics need their exercise. Stops their mechanisms from locking up when they need to perform in the morning, and saves our maintenance crew a lot of hassle. Now, that normally wouldn't be an issue for you, but our animatronics, well, they also have a tendency to wander to parts of the building they aren't supposed to be in, which might also include your office. Because of that, you'll want to keep an eye on them with your cameras.
How old
Make
are
sure
you?
they aren't straying
I'm
too far away from their
4.
intended areas. And if one reaches the doorway to your office, it might be a good idea to close either
What
of those
is your
handy mechanical
name?
doors. There should be one on both sides of your office. They stop almost any animatronic. Just close them, wait for the thunk, and the animatronic should go right back to their stage. Only close them if you absolutely need to, though. Power, and power isn't something we've got a lot of. And I say almost every animatronic because there is one that's a little special, though it isn't hard to deal with. Just click that reset music button on the entrance
I
camera
did,
every
I
once in a
did, I
while, and
checked
it
the
should think you
cameras.
be. Now, if you're
Okay,
wondering why a
something's
place
new.
like this needs heavy-duty mechanical doors, or
I
what
don't
all
know
these
where
other
Bonnie
tools
is.
you have at your disposal are, my answer to both these questions is, don't worry about it. You probably won't need to use them tonight anyway.
I think...
We just want to make sure our
Is
guards
that
are
Bonnie?
safe and have the means to defend themselves
no.
against any threat that comes their way.
No, it's not.
I do, like, you know,
I don't know where
burglars,
Bonnie is.
dandles, those kind of threats.
Mm.
Other than that, the only thing you
Oh,
really
I
have to
found
worry
Bonnie.
about is your temperature. AC shot, so you have to rely on your fan. Just turn it on
Did I
every
close
so
the
often,
door?
it should cool you right back down. Just don't leave it on for too long, it drains power too.
Did I turn on the
Oh yeah,
fan?
and while all you should really need tonight are the camera's doors, feel free to flip through the different systems on your monitor and try out some of the other tools just to get a feel for them too.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to be prepared. Now, I think...
That's Five Nights at Freddy's.
I feel like I should have shut the door.
Why is that the sign?
I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's free demo. I don't know what
Oh,
happened
wait,
with 1 and 2. I don't know who made them. I don't know. It's probably everyone has played behind the scenes of me playing the game, I was just constantly thinking about and then
Sorry, I got silly.
That was my dream. I get you.
Others. What is that? Mega hard.
Get them. Dawn's lost
Where are
some
you?
fancy.
yeah, unfortunately the KFC.
What? Yeah, apparently the KFC is like dog shit walking. Don't go to the KFC near my place.
You're not. No wag in real life. And
Serious, don't go back.
serious, don't go back.
He got food poisoning once from there.
Yeah, that's why it's
Yeah.
absolutely abysmal.
Oh, I know what the sound cue is now. It is footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Is that something? Like, should... No, Bonnie's on the other side.
No, as in that's a cardboard.
Oh!
Oh yeah, that's
Uh-oh.
Yay!
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Locked it.
I heard a sound and I don't know what it...
Chica. The other side.
No. No, wait, oh. Oh, wait.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
You see something last time?
No?
Oh, no.
Well, I was playing Mites. Oh, it's turning red. Oh, it's turning red!
What? Is that the temperature?
Yeah.
Probably like you winning? You win?
It started turning red.
What do you mean
It was
started?
getting too hot.
Fuck, your power is so low.
Is that the Minesweeper's fault?
First night. It's fine. Second night.
Oh, Chica's moving. Okay. There. Oh, it's getting hot again. Guys, this is scary. There. Please be gone. Yay! Yay! Oh. What?
What happened?
Bonnie wasn't even there!
Damn.
Oh, did Bonnie like move to the side maybe? When Bonnie's in the hallway next to the office.
No, sorry. No, keep I'm listening.
What?
What's the question?
Oh, no, like when Bonnie's in the hallway next to the office, can she move like closer to the room?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the point. That's the whole
Okay.
point. They are trying to get in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So that's when you want to be like extra careful about.
Oh, my. Okay.
Have you guys? Well, you know this game is only a demo, so there isn't much more outside of the first night, aside from the second night and the after night, like the post night, and dialogue. But you know, it's not much different from the first night. Effectively, this is a very good gameplay. And
Real.
gameplay.
What?
Just so shit. Whoa, holy shit. Look, it's really cool.
I found the four.
Down the
Oh
floor.
my god, there's a 50% chance.
Should I click that one?
No. That's a bomb.
Okay.
That, like, whole line down the bottom is a bomb.
Okay. I keep hearing sounds. No, that's there.
Yeah, so that's what you meant. Sorry. Sorry, please. Oh,
Check your cameras that are right next to you.
I haven't heard footsteps. There's Bonnie.
Fish.
Who
no
fished
one be
me?
hearing it, please.
At least one here.
One year
Average dawn wait time.
from now.
Yeah.
You're not watching them right now.
Hi, it's me, Wagon Trow, and
Yeah.
oh.
So, oh, where's the?
Well, I could just. Yeah, I could just
Well, yeah,
see
but
her
that's-
anyway. Him. Her.
I'm not working enough for this shit.
It's turning red! I'm scared. Hold on. Okay, wait. Can I pause? I can't.
Oh my god, you can pause.
Oh,
Do
shit.
you mind cutting off your hair and just giving it to me real quick?
No.
Why?
Why not?
No, because I need to. If you hit
Well, you don't
500,
need your
you'll
hair.
bleach and dye it instead.
Oh,
If I cut it off now, I can't bleach and dye it.
well, you could just
Yeah, but
still,
I
you could still,
can.
you know, it'd
No,
just
you
be...
Yeah, I can.
No.
Oh my god, you're right.
Sorry.
Have you considered explaining what's going on to Fosh?
No. I need another tissue. I'll be right back again.
Sky, take over.
Yeah, I'll take over,
Hot
that's fine.
swap.
Scully says, OMG, please don't cut your hair. I know, it's very pretty, isn't it?
Alright,
I like my hair.
Hey, so the real gamer is back. I don't know what the controls are, so this is gonna be awesome. Okay. I also
Never
want to open
fear.
the options.
I'm here.
Is there a... No, okay. Oh, fuck,
have you
I didn't mean to
done?
do that.
You restored the defaults.
Oops. There we go. We all good?
Looks like it.
Yeah, we're all good. Alright. Oh, okay. What's the... Alright. Fan. Cams. Where are the funnies? One of the... Oh, fuck, we're so fucked, dude. We did not beat night one. Okay, so this is like a... control... Oh, fuck no. Alright, let's get controls. Alright, funny guys. We want this one. Yeah, I'll play Minesweeper, I guess. Cool. I don't know how to play this game. Damn. Alright, well that was cool. Where's the status? Okay, game is still there. I am so confused, this is not WAG. Blatantly untrue. Yeah, this is a really shitty control scheme, but that's fine, you can map it. Guys are still there. Okay, yeah, so we're just gonna play Minesweeper. Among Us! Oh my god, guys, you're not gonna believe it, but Wagon Troll just walked into the room. This is so cool.
Chat, I'm gonna get food poisoning live on stream.
We're gonna get food poisoning live on stream.
Real.
The Wagon Trolls!
We are the Wagon Trolls.
The Wagon Trolls. This moves
Yeah,
away
we've got
too
a
quickly.
$5
This
tip
is...
where we swap players.
Oh fuck, okay.
You're next.
I guess
This is a
we
good
need
soundtrack,
$5
actually.
to get scored.
Xbox already played.
Yeah. Oh, you're next.
You're
Next,
next.
regardless.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Where's the
When
funny
I
gamer?
broke there.
Where's funny gamer? So that's where Bonnie is. Oh yeah, the filter really makes it hard, but whatever. Did any of us press the nose?
Did I get a conversation about like black market stuff?
Sorry!
Yeah.
Like,
There's a bucket. Yeah.
cutting them off
I-
and...
Hi.
Oh,
I
okay.
Hi,
I think
buddy.
we were talking. Me and someone were talking about bottom surgery, and they're like, "Yeah, you can black market sell your nut."
That's
Yeah, that makes
awesome.
sense.
That's so cool. Where's Bonnie? Where's
You
Chica?
get like
Still there.
tens of
do, do, do. And that's a bunny you want to move, right?
I have.
Why?
Oh, that's so
That's
cool.
how we get closer.
And that's the sound of bunny moving. So,
That's a funny.
yeah, everyone's back at the
I got
stage.
a notification from
Oh, we are getting way too hot. Whoopsie! I did a squat.
Next to my teacher.
Where's Bunny?
They were out of burgers. That's why they were. They had to make burgers. Yeah, they had to make a burger. At least 3 people talked out.
Damn.
Yeah, no, that
Damn. And I thought RKC was bad.
Yeah.
We're just having discussions about
They
KFC.
gave me the
I don't know
wrong
how
food.
audible everyone else is, but that's no wrong. Oh, there's Funny Chica! No.
Completely wrong. It's just nuggets.
Yeah, that sounds about right, frankly.
Burger, and like the original crispy like burger box.
they ran out of burgers, so they just piled nuggets.
They had no burgers. I saw them putting burgers in the box.
So, there we go. Oh, yeah. There we go. That's very sad. That's extremely bad. That's like comically bad.
It's because I'm a funny stream.
That was, that's actually so bad.
It's worth more than what you originally
So many nuggets.
I,
paid
who knows?
$16 for these.
Oh, frick! Freddy Fazbear!
And then oh,
I don't know what to do with Freddy, I'll be honest. So I guess Freddy's here.
Yeah, I got bored, so I started reading the reviews, and there's like 10 different pictures of raw chicken.
That's very scary.
That's the game of the KFC.
Not the game! Definitely not the game! The game is not nearly as scary as this KFC you were describing to me. That's Bonnie. I guess Freddy moves in this game, which is cool. I don't know how to deal with him, so... I keep pressing the wrong fucking button. Run, chill. Bonnie's gonna come again.
Sonic better cheer me up later. Which one are you playing? Sorry, I need to get some mushrooms. And then I'm playing
Funny guy! Where is Freddy?
I like Sonic 3.
Oh yeah. No, I'm enjoying that. I was enjoying that a lot.
Did Freddy just go back? Yeah, he did. Wow.
Actually,
I don't really need the...
I'm sorry to-
We got through the first night!
Nice.
This is awesome! We actually did it!
Like,
We finally got through the first night of 5 Nights at Frick Bear's free demo.
we get a $5 donation, so do it a game.
Yeah, well let me
I'm
just
not
get
even,
through the
like,
last night.
I
I've got dialogue to
I'm being
read.
too focused on like how angry I am at KFC.
Yeah, you
right
gotta
now.
like. You
I
gotta
won't
lock
even
in.
be scared, like, because I'm too angry at KFC.
Phew, what a night. Let me read this dialogue. Those robots are definitely a lot scarier up close. But all that's behind me. Jeremy's not allowed to finish his sentences. Oh? Oh yeah, this is... Ring ring! Hey, is this stupid thing on? Hey Stooge, great work tonight, or whatever. Big news, your good-for-nothing coworker isn't picking up his calls. Oh, so we muted the call. I just know that in that call, this guy gets fucking donked by a shelving, and he's probably dead. He isn't picking up the calls, so it looks like you're gonna work overtime. Yay! Who did that? Thank you, Skullcat! Thank you so much! For your $5 donation, I'm gonna finish reading that dialogue. Dawn's gonna return from wherever she's hidden from, and then she's gonna get to play 5 shows at...
Yeah, whatever.
5 shows at Wario's Director's Cut, which is the game I really didn't want to play. which is awesome. I managed to successfully avoid it. We gotta work overtime. Oh no! Overtime. Oh sure, I guess I could do that. What do you need? Go to this address. Some chump will explain the rest when you get there. Good luck or whatever. You got it, boss. I'll
$5 donation.
get there. Wonder what he could
Are you
need.
calling the KFC or call?
This is all about them.
Oh gosh!
They went through, and then all I heard was
We got psych friend Fredbear, by the way. So we're just gonna pick up a guy. It's just telling us to grab a guy and then leave.
that is true. Which it almost was not.
I don't know how to get out.
With
Yeah.
the game.
Go home.
Now it's time for Dawn to play something completely new.
Where are we at?
How to play Wario.
You get to be WAG for
Sir.
30
WAG.
minutes.
You get to be
Let me kill. Spend half an hour killing my hair.
Yeah, just make yourself look pretty.
Hello, gamers. Let me ping my own server and be like, hey, I'm WAG.
I'm WAG today.
Hi, I'm WAG.
I'm WAG right now.
Hey, this is WAG.
Me when I wag.
And
Oh, thank you. My I tried shirt. Yeah, that's what I tried with KFC. It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Or Five Nights at Warriors. Wow. Swouse.
You go to my one instead. My one's way better. They just like sometimes forget to give you one thing.
My one is really good.
Yeah.
On not doxing myself.
Yeah, I was also gonna be like, I'm not gonna say myself.
What do you mean Windows? Windows Defender does not like Five Nights at Warriors.
KFC is the one that I would go to for lunch. Because I work pretty close to where you live.
Oh yeah.
So,
Probably.
that KFC's goated.
Yeah.
What the
that's
fuck's
my
wrong
thing.
with you?
Well, we get it really constant, but they like sometimes they'll forget one thing.
I literally go
So
through
it's-
drive-through and they hand it to me.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, I think they know who I am and they know my order by
We're getting game.
Oh, yeah.
Are we game?
now. Hit full screen.
One.
And then press that button and
Damn.
it should show up.
Imagine having hotkeys.
Maybe.
There we go.
Yes.
That's crazy.
You don't dox yourself.
Well, it's
Oh.
not my.
You wanna know Frosty's address? I'll press
It's
enter.
not the one I choose to go to.
Wow!
Oh my god, I haven't seen this game in so long.
It's
I don't
the
think you've seen
guy.
this game at all.
I haven't seen
I
a.
remember the Five Nights at Wario's.
I haven't.
Five shows of this is the difference.
Well, this did like the whole series. I remember.
There was once a man named Wario who worked with a friend.
Oh, I guess
One
this is
day,
the
however,
difference.
the two men went missing and they were never found. Since that day, the factory remained closed for a while, due to people thinking the factory was cursed. There was a man named Bruno Gate who had taken their lives in the cold factory, for reasons unknown other than lust for money. War. I've never seen a video game in my life.
Someone clipped.
Chat, clip that shit right now. 5 shows at Warriors Director's Cut. Enter. Man, these are some professional headphones. New game. The Theater. Wait, no, Battle Black Theater was last weekend. Guys, I hate KFC.
KFC, you need painkillers.
Am I in a dream? The city speaks no familiar words to me. I've never been here before. It all feels faint and surreal. Damn, that's Five Nights at Warriors. I will be handing it over to Wagon Troll 1. You'll get $5 so I don't have to play this game.
No, please. Please. No one else. If Squawk plays played it.
Welcome, welcome. The theater is proud to present tonight's shows. This is your first time visiting. We hope the experience will be one to remember. I want to give a warm welcome to our only and honored guest who's sitting there in the audience. You will be able to participate in our interactive theater shows tonight. The concept is simple. You have one main task.
No, this is fine. I don't need it loud. It's already quite loud.
Final show that will leave the audience in awe. You can actually choose to give this a try at any point, but playing in the theater
Mike's setup
is
so
no
fancy.
easy feat. So we recommend
He's
that
a
you play in our
professional
5
streamer.
smaller shows first for some stage experience.
It's almost like we
Any of the
were.
5 shows
I think the
in
last
any
time I
order,
here was
and
December.
do as many as you want. Once you feel you have a strong enough spine for the task,
Chat,
take a
welcome to
leap
the
of faith
Torture
and
Wax
jump into
stream.
the final show. You only get one chance though, so choose carefully.
Yeah. I don't know how you see this message. I wasn't listening to that at all. I was too focused on.
The gist is you're in a game show. Actually, I don't know what the gist
I'm in
is.
a theater. I'm in Battle Block Theater.
You're in a theater and you have to play shows, and then you'll have a final night. I don't know what
I am Bruno Gate.
You're Bruno Gate.
Bruno Mars?
I'm Bruno Mars. Does Bruno Mars is gay?
Does Bruno Mars is gay?
You are not physically alive anymore. I feel that way after KFC. I haven't even eaten any of my KFC yet.
KFC experience at Wagon Troll's house.
The Nuggets.
The nuggets. They're doing a Hatsune Miku stream deck. I
It's
made a
in
tweet
our
as
choices that results
I'm
in
being
yours.
talked to by not Wario.
I believe we are ready. Let the shows begin.
No Warriors. No, those webcam. No Warriors. I know what I'm doing. I am Wag.
Thanks, Skullcat. Thanks, Scully.
Thank you.
There you go. Now you're gonna choose from
Cooking with them
games.
at the cellar, playing
I
with
only know
power.
how to play 2 of them, so I
A
can
true
only
lie.
advise you.
A true lie. I mean, I'm good at Among Us. Enter the final show. Okay. Playing with power. A true lie. What? I just hear Scott going. Hermie.
I'm saying you want to learn how to play sports.
Hey, I have my Switch too.
My Switch. My second Switch.
Yeah, this is Wag Switch right here.
Oh my god. My 4th Switch.
His 4th Switch. 5 princess. It's nice of the princess to invite us to the
No, I'm watching stream.
castle, gay Luigi. But only real is there's an imposter among us.
Holy shit.
Fish.
Fish.
No way.
Thank you for the fish, Void. I have to play Among Us. I have to.
Oh my god, you actually just gonna play Among Us.
It's Among Us time.
It's Among Us time.
Which princess to reveal as the liar?
Holy shit, this is my Among Us Princess Scully. What did I call you?
Scoliosis.
Princess Scoliosis.
Princess Scoliosis.
Oh my
and
god,
you're
Among
playing
Us.
Among Us. Yeah, it's a...
Bonk.
Like, it's a really bad bootleg.
Questions.
Oh, you gonna ask her questions? Oh my god.
If cooking with Emma has been completed on the playthrough, was the carrot?
Well, it hasn't.
Oh, it hasn't. Are you or any of the 2 entities next to you the real princess?
It's a good question as much as anyone else.
Ask. I got goosebumps. Yes. So 2 of them are the princess. Maybe.
You can't ask that.
Any of the 2. So it's either this one. How many princesses have I asked before you on this specific attempt at this show? Oh, that's a good one. So I've only asked 1.
You can't play with one.
2. Fuck you mean? This
So that
bitch
one's
is.
lying. That one's a liar. That one's not the princess. I would not guess that one is the princess.
No, don't I have to guess the liar?
I think... I don't know. Actually, what did it ask you?
Fuck, I don't know.
Did it ask you to guess who the princess is?
I don't remember.
Okay, well... Okay. I don't
It said
know if
there's
it was-
5 princesses and 1 liar.
Oh,
So
there's
that's
one
the
liar?
You should guess that princess.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna insert the headphones off.
It is on.
I don't
We'll
know.
see.
Game break.
That's a life block. Sorry, we got it wrong.
Okay, so
Alright, gamers, we didn't know what we're doing.
Nothing.
So we figured one of them is a lot. So I think it's was we're meant to find the real one and not.
but it's a,
Maybe. I'll.
heckin' hecked.
Do you want to do my work? Do you want to do my actual real life work? I have my work laptop.
I want to do your work so I can fuck it up.
No.
I'm going back again.
Then you're not gonna have any electricity. Oh my god, that was really quick.
Yeah,
Okay, is it gonna give me a tutorial again? I sure hope so. Okay, I will
I
pay
think it
attention
does
this
every
time.
5 is standing. Okay.
In the hole, yeah. Oh,
Only one is real.
okay.
So it is.
so I reveal the princess. Gotcha.
So the real princess. Oh, I need to get Jinx in here. Let's go. Yes, Jinx is awake.
Shinx,
Jinx cameo.
Red Shinx.
Jinx gonna be like, who the fuck?
It's me,
It's
Wagon
Wag.
Trial 4.
Yeah, it's me, Wagen's roll. It's me,
Finally,
Wagon.
we figured out who the other wages are.
Yeah,
Finally. We know.
it's the Nuggets.
And you get 1 chance. Okay, yes.
Okay, so I've, only one's real.
Collective L.
Collective L. Questions?
How much? Will we have time for me to play another one for Jinx?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have time. Hang on.
Yeah, we've only spent like a barely anything. You got. There's one more game anyway.
No, there isn't. Is there? Oh, there is! Fnaf 1 Remake! I completely forgot.
Oh yeah.
You got one more game.
Are you or any of the two entities next to you the real princess? Okay. Yes. Oh, that's not helpful.
Oh, maybe that one's a good one to save until we know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, let's try this one. If it says 2 again, then that's a lie. Okay, so that's not a real one.
I know the second one is fake.
I wish I had distinctive designs. How much health do I currently have? Okay. Yeah, apparently. 3. So that one's a lie.
That one's a lie. So we know 2 liars.
So second and third are lies. And yeah, that's all the questions.
Well, if they say yes to this, then they're lying.
Okay.
Because we haven't played it.
Did I go to the 4th?
Yeah. You're on
Yeah,
the
4th,
now.
yeah.
So second and third are fake.
Okay, cool.
So we just have to gamble for the rest of them.
Yes.
So that's a lie.
So that's a lie.
So the first or the last one.
First or
So
the last.
first one said that they were a princess or person. It wasn't.
Right.
It's either that one or the first one.
Okay, 50-50 gamble. Chat, what do we think?
I think that one is the princess.
The last one?
The last one?
Yeah. That one, right.
Well, if we die, it's Wag's fault.
Alright.
I will take that.
Because,
risk.
yeah. The
I
middle
will
3 are
take
lies. The first one said myself or either two
Yeah.
are
Princess.
a princess. Which the second one isn't. And then we don't have any questions asked this one.
So we just have to get 50-50.
Alright, do we blame Wag?
Dear God.
And we'll never know.
You'll never know.
Game
It
crashes.
takes so long
Yeah, I
to
know.
like reveal the truth. It doesn't need to have this build up. We did it!
Yippee! We did
It's not my fault.
We don't have to blame
It's
Wag.
the real.
Nice
I
of the
will-
princess to invite us to the castle, gay
I did
Luigi.
it, I won.
You did it, you won.
Show trial compris. Alright, I completed something. Unlike my KFC order.
So we've got. So that was a true,
True lie.
I can help with the first and the second one.
Alright, let's do some cooking, shall we?
That one's
Okay, we're not doing that one. Is the cellar easy?
the cellar's alright. It's 5 different things that you can do within a time limit.
I'm bad at time limits. Let's go.
Safety terror. I don't know. Yeah, I only knew the first two.
Alright, let's try this one.
I didn't get that far in the video before I had to.
I didn't get that far with the guide.
I didn't read the
Because the guy was
walkthrough.
like reading really furrows. He was doing like normal hard.
They're in the
instead of-
building with you. Oh,
Oh
okay.
my god.
I regret this
God.
already.
Can you hear them?
Can you hear them?
No.
Can you hear them?
I hear Squawktopus.
Octopus literally.
I hear Crinky Winky.
Frinky Winky.
That's your name now.
Oh, you got a phone.
Terror Interactive Theater experience.
Yes.
You are currently in an unknown location, but you are not alone. There are currently 3 entities roaming the building you currently find yourself in.
3
They
entities.
move freely in this building, which consists of 9 identical rooms. They can be anywhere. In order to finish the show, you must reach 3 specific rooms and turn their lights back on. Once all 3 rooms have their power back, the show is complete.
A1,
See which
B1.
rooms require this maintenance on the left side of your map.
A1, B1,
Enter an
C3.
adjoining room at any time, but you have to be absolutely sure the room is empty before you step inside. Thus, there are precautions that need to be made before proceeding to a new room. There are doors linking every room together. You can open and close any door at any time in order to open or block a path of an entity. Trap entities in rooms in order to make your path to the next room safe. Entities are by default unable to be detected on the map. They can, at this moment, be far away or maybe in the room next to yours, listening to you getting this pre-recorded message through the wall. In order to calculate the safety of your environment as accurately as possible, you have a limited amount of equipment you can use.
Ugh.
Oh, there we
Spend
go.
them wisely.
So what do we do?
Map's
What's
ability
happening?
to
We have to
toggle
get to those rooms,
carefully
We have to
through
get
the corridors.
Alright.
but there's
This marks the end
entities.
of this pre-recorded
Okay.
message.
And I do
We
think
want
like
to warn you
the
to not
game
let the silence trick
is
you.
just a little bit
You are not alone here.
Oh yeah, because of that. Okay. Oh, it's all good. That's fine. There's nothing.
Okay.
Who cares?
What are the entities? Do we know what they are?
Place in room, track all entities to the adjoining room. Scans a single room. Getting an unclear message means an entity might or might not be present. Scans a single room. Scans the entire building.
You're gonna hear that.
Oh jeez, I thought that was in the game. Bloody hell.
As you fucking leave the building.
Okay, well C3's there, so we should, I guess, soft scan? Wait, which is C3? Is that C3?
Yeah.
Okay, I should hard scan that, because that's a room I need to be in.
We need to get to 3 different rooms, and there's entities.
Entity found.
Okay.
Don't.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, we don't want to go in that room. What's the next one? B1?
B1, yeah.
So I need to go there, I guess. Empty. Okay. Can we move?
I don't know how you move.
Oh. Let's proceed. Oh.
Off the next. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you gotta close off C1.
Yeah.
And then you can go. Oh.
Right, okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us move.
I know how to play games.
Okay.
Oh, now we have like a. Does that mean that C2 no one can get in now? It's pretty cool.
Okay, so we need to get to B1, so we should just hard scan that. We need B1 and A1, and then C3, which is going to be the hard
So
thing.
we'll wanna
What's the
move.
music box?
Back and move one.
You could put that in B3 and then close it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I close from here? Oh, I can.
Yeah. So you want to close off C3. Oh yeah, you want to close.
Well,
off
we need to
forwards.
get to C3.
Yeah, so you want to put the music box in B3 and then close that one off. And then you can...
The
there's
numbers
many
are there.
As in, like,
Just one room.
One room at a time. Oh, I have one full scan.
If you put the music box in B3 and then close off the entirety of B3, except for C3, then it should move into there, right? And then, cause it, well, we haven't. Still
Yeah, I can't
yeah, you
open
can't,
that.
you need to be sealed off from all of them, but you could remove C2's.
Right, gotcha.
And you'll prove that you are off fully is going to
My med alarm is going off.
Unprofessional.
My med's at home. I'm getting an ad for a game. Okay, so. Yeah, we could... No. I feel like I should get to B1 first, right? I feel like I should get to B1 first and light that up.
Yippee! Yay! Dawn, you're being offered McDonald's.
Well,
that's...
offered it.
Alright, so... Among Us.
Among Us?
So what's the plan? So I feel like I should at least try and get into B1 first. And then we can...
Oh yeah, I got that one. I'll do that for the,
We're not a valued customer. I'm the valued customer. Me!
No.
I'm valued and a customer.
Why
That-
control? That's me.
Okay, there's an entity in B1.
So
So,
you don't want to go.
but we
so-
don't want to lock it off until we get the entity out of it.
So we want to...
We can put the entity in B2, right?
With a music box? Yeah. Should I lock them all off? Or in case there's... In case there's entities in other rooms.
Yeah, I think just...
Should I...
Okay.
Me when I'm phasmophobic.
I am not about to call you a slur.
Oh god!
Okay, so should I just try and attract them all
Yeah,
onto
Try
B2
and get it in there.
and just leave those unlocked in case there's some up here
Yeah,
or whatever?
just lock it away for B1. Okay, and then lock it off.
Lock it off and then just make sure. Empty. There we go.
So now you just proceed.
So lock it off. Lock it
Oh,
off.
yes.
You gotta proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've made it to our first room.
Yeah, it's not secret. I don't think.
Okay.
You also know where Sky went.
Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah, I'll just tell you live on stream.
Okay, so we should just hard scan A1.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't know where I live. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing.
We could soft scan, yeah.
I mean, you can hard scan both A1 and C3.
Yeah.
I'm not secret.
No, no,
You could
no.
lure it.
We should have kept C2 close up, because then we would have been...
Well, that.
Yeah.
There might be something in C2 now.
Yeah.
Very true.
But we know...
Scan A1 because you know
Yeah.
that it's there. Just
No.
scan A1, see if there's anything there.
Hard
So
scan
you're
it.
there already.
Empty. Cool.
Okay, so we can just go in there. Okay. I don't know why we needed to go into these rooms. It doesn't like... Does it give you like a reason?
To turn lights on.
Alright, so we can go back...
C1 should be empty. C2 might be empty, and C3 might be empty.
So we can
You
just...
have to make it
Can we just go back to C1 for now?
Yeah, yeah, I haven't. They should be fine, right?
We should be able to go back to C1.
You have to B1 first.
And here's hoping none of them can open doors.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, we're good. This is a good horror game.
Can you soft scan C2 first?
Unclear. So that might or might not.
So if you go,
Might or might not be
can
present.
you also soft scan C3?
Oh,
Unclear.
so unclear. Yeah. Sorry.
Music box B.
Should I open that up?
No. Music box B3. So the C.
Right. I should probably lock off A3 as well, right?
It doesn't matter. I don't
Well, in
care.
case there was one there.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just block off B3 because B3, so C3 should be clear, and then it's just whether or not something can C2.
We want to
Hard
unblock.
scan C2.
I have one hard scan left.
Well, you won't need it.
Yeah, we
You
should.
only need the one to check because C3 should be clear, C1 should be clear, it's just whether or not C2 is clear or not.
Did I get an unclear in C1 or was that empty?
It was C3.
C1 is fine.
C1 is fine because I locked it
C1
off.
is
So hard
C-
scan C2.
Yes.
Entity fund.
So we want to
So,
unlock.
the
B2.
doorway.
Yeah.
And music.
box.
God, I'm FNAFing.
Oh.
For knowing.
Then you should just be able to go straight from B1 to C1, C2.
Yeah.
Let's go. We're gaming.
Gaming. We didn't even need to use a full scan.
I love puzzles like
Damn, maybe you should have played the
this.
game.
maybe I should have played the game.
Well, there are hard. There's a hard and insanity version of this minigame, so
Yeah.
you can experience it for yourself.
I love video games. Alright, then we should be able to just go there.
And then hopefully we don't have to move.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to move to like A something or other. Like,
Well, you have like the L, right? You know exactly
Yay!
Yay!
We got XP.
Level up. We got
And we have another light.
you're a win streak going.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
1-1, get a UAV.
So we have 8 lives. I mean, technically we don't have to play any of the other ones, but
We could move on to the final game.
A shop.
I don't know what. Oh yeah, you can buy. So there's things. For each
I can buy a
game.
GPU.
The Wii GPU. Oh my god.
So that one would be for the middle.
Yeah. What's the health of the main enemy?
Down.
And if I do the final show, then
I mean, you can.
look at the shop. Damn crazy, there's no one for the live one. Yeah. Alright, so I should... Huh?
Good luck.
Play the.
Alright. If I lose, I blame WAG.
Well, I mean, that's the idea.
Yeah.
You need
Well,
to
you
leave.
just yeah, you just bought a thing.
Okay.
You just lowered the HP of the final boss. Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. It's Wario.
Bruno.
What the fuck?
Wario.
Longer frames of invincibility after taking damage.
Wow. Okay. Slippery control. Whatever that means.
Should I
Just play Bruno. Bruno Mars.
play Bruno Mars?
He's got average.
It's incredibly average.
You gotta lock in.
Alright, lock
Gotta log
in
in.
Bruno time.
Gotta play video game.
Welcome to the final show. Survive with your lives, reach the end and you win. Whoa, Shinx! I'm locked in.
Shinx!
It's me,
My
Wedge and
friend,
Trowel
my
4.
friend Shinx. Whoa, that's
Dying,
my
you
friend.
lose everything. Crazy.
I know that one.
I'm Wedge and Troll 4. Walk and crouch with the WASD. Jump with space. Wall jump by hugging wall. Use Spirit Flame attack with arrow keys. Alright.
Spirit.
Have a look.
Among Us. I love
so cool.
scoliosis. Well, they're just making Matthews at the Matthew factory?
Yeah. They're making more Matthews. They're making more Matthews.
I can Hadouken.
Oh my god, it's
Ow. Ow. I'm not locked in, chat. Me when I can't basic platform fuck.
Log in.
I had like 5 lives.
Not anymore.
No, I know.
Had 5 lives.
Had being the keyword. What?
You died.
And go. Well, left you.
And that's it.
That's it. I was not logged in.
Now it's the guy's turn to play Fnaf.
We have time. You can play a little bit.
Huh? It's 2 hour, huh?
Oh, I hate fun.
Game over.
Alright,
No
put the
more
white face
game.
mask back on.
No more video game.
This guy gets to be the streamer.
Alright.
Again.
I am now summoning the Goggler.
The Wagon
When I'm the way.
Oh, the Wagon to Throne.
You can eat your KFC. You can eat your 16
If you really want to
nuggets.
risk it, honestly.
You can eat your 16 nuggets. I'm gonna open
How do I get out of here? Let me out. No, we're just game overed forever, I think.
That's funny.
I can't believe I can't.
Oh, never mind. We're all good.
Move.
What are you? Get me out.
Have you ever seen the Gobbler and Wang all in the same room? Now you have.
Fucking Google. How do I get out of this bloody
Press
game?
escape.
I've tried.
Keep loading.
No.
Dude.
No, we're not allowed out.
Lock the fuck in.
Lock the fuck out. I told you.
Get out of there.
Alright, we're free.
It's time.
It's FNAF 1 remake time.
FNAF 1 remake.
This one is definitely not a virus.
It's gonna break my fucking computer. My
It is.
laptop.
It's going to break your
What
computer.
the fuck is that?
So this one is meant to seem like ransomware.
Oh, it's this one. Yeah.
That's
okay.
one of the many. There's at least 2. No, that's true. I don't really care about the flashing lights, loud noises, and jump scares. It's been 10 years since you first had the oh, I forgot how fucking long this, intro thing is. Pleasure of experiencing a wonderful story. This story, it brings you good memories, right? But you are bored. All you've ever wanted is a fresh perspective. And I can give it to you. The sands of time shift and rife before you. You grow older. Your vessel gradually breaks down. But our story fills you with a glimmer of sweet remembrance. Beautiful, wonderful, amazing, disgusting nostalgia. This is the nostalgia bait game. I tell you, that stuff is like this guy is so fucking slow. Is like a genie in a bottle nowadays. But history will always come back around. And you won't accept that. Your warped perspective fills your brain. Can I just skip this? No, I cannot. Memories of good times, bad times, innocent times. And so, you come crawling back. You want to be young again. Everyone does, right? You want to be young. One more time. I will give you that privilege. I will give you the gift of living through our story, but better. I can already hear you now. You think you could improve upon perfection? Perish the thought. Perish. But you don't know what I can do. You see, I can make the game smaller on the screen. I'm in control now. My influence permeates the very foundation of this wretched place. I can unfull screen the game for you to show that I'm in control. And now the streamer doesn't remember how to make it go back. It's... Oh, Alt. Enter.
Not F1.
I'm trying to make it full screen.
Alt Enter. Well, it didn't work. So obviously, it's broken.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Buddy, by the way. It's probably intentional. Us not being able to remake it big. I guess. What are the options?
Discord rich present. It's telling me that it's saying that I'm playing Five Nights at Freddy's on Discord.
Fuck yeah! Alright, you wanna keep that one on?
Yeah.
Alright. Let's... we go back to the game? Oh, here.
Does it have to be?
Hang on.
Why is it such a weird resolution?
Fnaf. Well,
Okay. Alright, we'll fix. Oh, I was gonna say I can fix it for you. The game capture. Maybe.
this is how you remember it, right? The night doesn't actually start until I finish monologuing at you. Just like the old days. I'm glad you're here. I'm sure you're acquainted with how the stuff works here. Basic scheme is the same. Don't let them get you. Do whatever it takes. Look at the cameras. Drag the doors. Click the halls. You know the deal. Try to keep me entertained. See, I did want to hear. I wanted Matthew to hear this because. Hi, Shane. Hi, my friend. Yeah, this one. I wanted Matthew to have to hear this song because this song plays repeatedly through the night. Let's look at the cameras. They're having fun, gamers.
No.
What the fuck?
Please don't speak anymore. Get out of my house. Go home. Go home.
The gamers. The gaming off. Yes. Squawk is playing Splatoon. Matthew is standing behind me doing something, and Dawn is eating probably bad KFC. Dawn is eating depression KFC nuggets.
Depression nuggets.
Nuggets that she did not order. He better fucking not be. If he is, I'm not reading it because I don't want it to happen.
Would that make things better?
What?
I don't think anything would make things better.
They call KFC.
A bad KFC. Where's Bonnie? Oh, he's still there. Okay. Yeah, nothing's happened because it's Fnaf 1. You don't get to hear the music. It's sad. Oh yeah, do you want to show off the poster again? Oh, Bonnie's gone! There he is, Bonnie. I don't remember what Bonnie's called in this one. Probably something similar. Ooh, Bonnie's gone. I don't know where Bonnie is.
It's Five Nights at Freddy's. There he is. Freddy.
There's 5 nights at Freddy's.
That probably exists. Let's be real.
Five Nights at Kermit's? I haven't seen it. If it does.
Why doesn't it exist?
It
Get on
probably
that.
does.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Bonnie on the other side of the screen? Where is he? There he is. Oh, is Chica in here now? Oh, Bonnie's gone. Chica's still there, so where's Bonnie?
There it is.
Oh, it's over here.
You gotta give Dom specific instructions.
What the fuck just happened? Oh my god, thank you so much, Fluffy Platinum, for raiding the stream and giving me an absolute heart attack. Holy shoot. Hi Fluffy, oh my god, hi. How are you? I'm playing a Fnaf fan game and I'm Wave Control. That was really scary for me because, this is a very much a ransomware emulating game, so I was very much expecting that explosion to be from the game, and I was wondering how I fucked up on the first night to receive something I've never seen before. Wow. Hi! How are you doing? You're good? I'm so glad. Hi. Hi, I'm Wage and Troll. That's a fake control.
Oh fuck.
I've got Wage and Troll and Wage and Troll here with me. And today we've been playing Fnaf fan games. Bonnie's still there, which is pretty cool. Can you stay there? Where's Chico? Is Chico, like, joining the party at all? No. Okay. And I'm gonna close the door manually. But I don't know when...
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ivan? We still have shit to do.
I know, right?
I'm not very good
Live?
for power
Live?
pace, but,
Not live?
you know.
We have
It took you a while to realize you have to press the button. That's very fair.
I do have
I haven't done a raid in a very long time. How was stream? How was everything? How have you been? We've been having a fun time. At least 2 of us have missed our meds. Have not taken our meds, so that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Not serious. As in, we have done it, but it's good. We're all good. We're fine. We're cool gamers. It's cool. I'm Wheaton Troll, and I'm Swag with it. And this night's nearly over. Today's been eventful. Stream vibes are up. Hell yeah! That's pretty awesome. Yeah, today's been eventful for me too. You know, I've been at work. Then I was in the city and got some new sunglasses. Mine broke because they were really shitty Kmart ones. You know, then I realized I forgot my drink bottle at work, so I had to go back. Then I met my son, and we've just been night 1. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I look like Willy Wonka? I fucking do. I'm the godmother.
Yeah, they're actually Willy Wonka.
I'm very Willy Wonka-esque right now.
It's my Splatoon.
This is Wag's Splatoon OC.
I'm not even joking, right? They're the goggles from my Splatoon character.
Yeah. This guy's not done with me, so we have to keep playing the video game.
Yeah, I found a
pretty cool.
copy of Shark Tale.
Ah, so wild. This is so much fun. This is alright. This is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Look at it on its camera. Use the shock if they get too far. So this is Foxy.
That's one more.
Oh, sorry, Oxy Pirate in this game. Which ones? This is Oxy. There we are. So controlled shock stay. I don't have to do that because we're good. But fuck. Am I miss? Was that there before? What the fuck? Maybe it was. Bonnie is out in the prowling.
I love not having this. So good.
Kill this man. Outsourced, yeah, very funny, hilarious, laughing and giggling alongside you. Donate $2. If you donate $5, you're gonna make someone else play this game.
Donate
Shinx, you
$85 and I'll have to play Roblox on screen.
Shinx, you should give me $100.
And by $100 in the sky, it's actually $85 charity.
No, actually. Fuck charity. No more charity. Where's
What?
Bonnie?
You can't say that on a charity stream.
Get Tim to do it. Tim has a PayPal. This is true.
Get
Tim
Tim
does
in
have a
here.
bill. Can you wake Tim up? I know Tim has
Get Tim in.
work, but can you just like
Charity.
go wake them up? Oh, Chica's out.
This just is. I think phobia is funny.
That's not fucking true, you bastards! I've never said that.
Put that on the.
Oh no. Bonnie's gonna be here soon, man. I'm gonna get jump scared by Bonnie. I don't even remember what Foxy does. Like,
After I spent all day in Paris, trying to decide.
oh fuck, Chica's still very much there.
Oh yeah.
And Bonnie's there now as well. Whew! This is a good game, but I'm not very good at scary stuff, so... Still there, buddy?
I spent money on gold bag.
pretty awesome.
It was brutal.
Thanks,
And then
Jinx!
I got home.
Love you, besties.
It's like,
I can trust you with everything. Foxy, Oxy has not gone out.
I wanted to, but I didn't put it on. And then I pressed, like, I put the, like,
Yeah,
out.
you got me.
And it was just like, I want my melody, we're going back. So we drove back to Carousel. Once we found out they did it after day.
It was pretty cool. Oh, okay, Bonnie's over here now.
But, like,
I think.
I would,
Bonnie?
yeah, I would have got it plus melody as well, but it was like,
Yeah, that's funny.
And it was
Left
like
hole?
130.
Yeah, okay. I just haven't read a single
That's like
of those camera messages. Dinner! I like the dinner room. It's just cool dinner.
Yeah. Like, here's a
He's fine.
I'll pay the rest of it now.
Thanks, Bonnie. Oh, fuck, they're both there. We're fine. It's fine. Where are we at, gamers? Bonnie is there. Yo, skip go. Bonnie! I'm so low on power right now. We're not gaming. Sorry, I just got a little distracted by my cool friends. Thank you so much for the 80. Holy shit! Thank you so much for the $80, Tim. Oh my god.
What the fuck, Tim?
Holy shit.
Tim's here?
Tim? Holy shit, Tim!
$5 more until we hit 400 Roblox streams.
Holy shit! Thank you so much.
Make Wag play Roblox.
Hi, Tim! My best friend!
Tim.
Hi! Oh my god, you actually got him! Hey, bestie! Hi! Hi! Your best friend! Hi! I think this calls for a wagon troll playing the game now. I think this calls for the real life wagon troll playing the game.
$5.
$80.
Fine.
Hi, Tim! Hi! That's pretty cool. Wow.
That's me.
Men are real? That's scary. Alright. I'm gonna swap out. Do you know how to play this?
No.
Chica and Freddy are at the door. You have to drag down the doors.
Oh.
Foxy, you wanna...
Hey guys.
Foxy, you wanna check on, instruct him when he's getting out of it, and if you hear a jingle, look for a hook in your office.
Well, I'm not reading.
Oh, okay. Well, it's telling you about...
Why does the window move? Okay, I see.
What is that? What else like?
I'm terrible
So
with it.
Foxy's camera,
It's this
when
one,
he's
yeah.
out of it, you wanna shock him.
Yeah, okay. I'm
And
terrible at
if you hear-
FNAF games.
If you hear a jingle, that means there's the hook in your office number, you wanna click it.
I see.
Otherwise, Bonnie and Chica are the same thing. Freddy, I don't remember what
Oh,
to do
I
with
can
Freddy.
click the ball.
You know how to...
What was that? I heard something. Oh, I can. Oh,
That's the jingle. Done. Did the thing. Freddy, I think...
I don't know. Hello? I gotta be in the middle.
Freddy, I think.
Oh, I'm gonna lose so fucking hard. Oh, there he is. Honk. Ooh.
Oh, that was
Freddy.
Freddy.
I got Freddy.
I would read the instruction for what it says for Freddy because I don't remember.
I died. He doesn't like being watched. I didn't hear him laugh.
If you see him in your office, stare at. So you didn't see him in the office.
No, I didn't, but I also didn't hear him laugh.
If you hear him laugh, look at it. So you saw him on the camera, so just keep looking at him on the camera, I guess.
I don't know. I've never played. I don't play
Well,
FNAF
do you want
games.
to play Wario's? We can go back to Wario's.
Well, we're gonna be ending stream soon, I think. Keep going. Do it right. What do you mean? I'm gonna fucking try.
I talk to my besties, my friends.
You can keep talking to
You need to lock
besties.
in.
I'm
Hi, Tim.
I'm trying to lock in.
Wait, said goodbye.
Probably you when you left.
Oh, no, I'm never leaving.
Where are the Bonnie at?
If I wasn't distracted by I was about to get my iPad out and bring you to my scale.
Was that the laugh?
I might be looking. Later.
Oh, hi. Can I shut the door? There we go. What did I do wrong?
Oh, you meant to look at him in the camera.
I couldn't find him in the cameras.
Well, get good.
He wasn't there. I can't see shit in this game. I'm so bad. Guys, if we hit $5 more, that's a Roblox stream. You're starting to... Oh, never mind. Tim donated $20 more. You're starting to bore me. Oh, shut up. Thanks, Tim. Oh, now I have to play Roblox on stream. You know what that means?
Thanks, Tim. You're so cool. You're
That's
so
all.
awesome.
That's like $100
Wow, Tim.
from Tim.
You
That's
are so cool.
crazy.
You've done it up $100.
Damn.
Holy shit. Thank you. Thanks, gamer.
Wow. Thank you
You're
so much,
cool.
Tim.
You're the awesomest and the coolest, and I won't kill you today, I promise.
And I won't kill you today.
One
Well,
guaranteed day to live.
can you believe that in on what is it? There's $500. $500 is that I dye my hair.
Oh yeah, next goal, $500. Wagon Troll dyes his hair again.
Where is he?
Don't shock him.
I'm not shocking him, but where is he? There's someone in the corner. There's someone here.
Alright, then look at him.
Is
Yeah,
that
that's
Freddy?
That would be Freddy.
Alright.
Oh, that's left. Oh, never mind, that's funny.
Well... Oh, there
No,
he
that's
is.
Freddy. Okay, found him.
Do I keep looking at him? Like, what do I...
Okay, you've done it.
I figured it out.
So
He's...
Foxy will have one more stay. Before...
Hello.
Yeah, but when you hear that noise, it's probably...
Okay, that is nice to know.
Bonnie will be...
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
Shut the
Bonnie
door,
is quiet.
please. Where Freddy at? Is that the stage?
No. Speaker is,
Yeah, I noticed. You're gone as well. That's
yeah,
the
that's
one.
the stage.
Where Freddy at? Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't find him!
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
I couldn't find him! He doesn't like being watched. Where
Yeah.
was he?
You got this. I believe in you.
I don't believe in myself
I
at
believe in
all.
you, because I believe in you. You got this.
You're starting to bore me. Do it again. It's really weird. I don't like it. How do you just... How do I find Fred... Get out of here, bitch. I heard you. I don't even hear Bonnie, you know, like... was that? How do I find him? That's Bonnie. Oh, great.
Oh, there
That's Freddy there.
That's pretty.
I'm looking at you, bitch. No one. Wait a bit. I love you, I love you. Ooh, get out of here. I think I'm winning. I think I'm locked in. Oh, Freddy's back on stage. Chica was in the middle. And you're gone. Please. Where's Freddy? Is that Mr. Fazbear?
No.
What the fuck is this?
You have to play Simon Says.
What happens if they...
Yeah, you just have to be really good at it.
Oh, he's still there. I'm at 2 a.m. Where is he? Oh, hey.
Oh, okay, so put the camera down. Camera. Click on
No.
it. Camera.
No.
Okay, just stare at him.
Yeah, I thought it was just staring.
Alright.
That's what they said.
Alright, I don't...
That's the stage I need to release.
Yeah, I don't remember.
God, this is awful.
No, maybe it's a good thing we play different things.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Oh, hey. Show up, bitch! Oh, hey. Dawn played the Fnaf games.
Not so Fnaf.
Hello, Bonnie.
And then I played the Fnaf game.
At least I can hear him. Hey, buddy. I don't think I'm gonna... Oh, you're still there. Oh, and you're also there. Shut the door, please. That's pretty shit. I'll be real. You're still there. Are you still there? No.
What are you halfway through? That's pretty good.
You gone? Yes. Right? Where's the Freddy? Freddy's gone. I'm gonna die. I can't find Freddy. I can't find Freddy. Yeah, I couldn't find him. I didn't know where he was.
That's okay. I think you're alright. I think you're okay. I think
Damn.
it's okay,
Where was he?
I think it's okay to be bad.
Well, do you want to try?
I will probably do just as bad. Yeah, you know, I'll try it one more time.
Let me play once more.
Okay.
I'm getting into the game. That gets me every time. That last one didn't get me because I was expecting it. But the last couple did. It's funky. Was that Freddy? No. Freddy. And he's gone. Fuck off.
I wonder how.
Where is he?
It's not gonna be.
Oh, there he is. Maybe he was just on that left corner the whole time and I couldn't see him. That's very fucked up, actually. That it was over there the whole time. Is that? Hello. Okay, I don't know what that means.
Like the diner there.
Oh, hey buddy. Hey buddy. Hello there. Yeah, I was gonna say somebody was over there. You're gone. How's Foxy going?
Seriously, this is such big sunglasses.
I know, right? You still there? No. Oh. Bonnie approaches. Fuck off. Oh my god, it's so slow. Oh. Is that Freddy? Where is he? Maybe that was Foxy making that noise. Actually, I think it was 100% Foxy making that noise. You're still there. Bro, come on. He's still there. Was that Freddy? Yeah. Where is he? I don't know what that was. Was that Foxy?
I don't know. I've never seen that before.
Hello? I wonder if that was Freddy. Speaking of Freddy.
Speaking of Freddy.
Alright. Give it a shot.
Okay. And if not, if I lose,
If you win,
we end the game. And if I lose, we also end the game. Because I don't want
that's
to
a
play.
good deal.
Yes, it is.
Give it a shot.
You found Freddy. You
I
found
found
him.
Freddy.
Alright, let's go.
My first time streaming FNAF and playing it, do you have any suggestions? No, because this is also like my first time playing and streaming FNAF.
Yeah. Here's my suggestion.
Conserve power.
Get Wage and Troll, to play for you instead. Wage and Troll 1 specifically.
I was about to say, which one?
I'm just gonna have to figure out what the fuck the laugh sounds like. Wage and Troll 1. Hey,
I wanted to cry!
That was a laugh. Where is my funny little bear? Hello. Hi. Hello, funny little bear. Thank you. Oh, little funny bear. Bonnie. Bon. My funny.
$5 donation to get to 40.
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Yeah,
Oh, hello.
You bought both?
My little silly little guy. Chica is there. Where's Bonnie? Hello, Bonnie.
no.
Hello, Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Oh,
How are we doing today?
mine.
Where is your friend? No. Stop that, please. Hi.
Accurate.
Hi.
Yeah.
That was not intentional either.
Ah.
Oh, he was there. Okay. Freddy Fazbear, where are you? Freddy! I don't see you on stage. Where are you, my friend? Bobby!
That's the first thing I've ever
Fucking hate me.
That.
Oh, there he was. I died.
Did you find him?
Oh, I didn't find him. Maybe he's hard to find. I want to give it one more try. I want to give it one more try.
Yeah, I did both.
I'll give it one more try. Yeah, I don't have any actual legit advice for streaming FNAF. Unless you're doing like max modes, people like to watch max modes, but that's hard. So, you know.
Realize it's 3 months away. Yeah.
Bonnie is out. My friend Funny Bear. Funny Bear is in here. Okay. Alright, he's on this side.
You did the fucking shit.
Go away.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Guys, 500.
Hi. Bye. Oh, we don't.
Only been one
Oh.
soon.
Oh, fuck.
How much was your
Oh, that was Chica. Shit.
283.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I already like what I
Okay.
what I raised last year, like 2 streams, and then just like fuck.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my god, thank you so much! Wow, Anonymous, can you read the number that we read? Can you please read the number out? Because
We have hit $420.
Holy shit,
Dawn
thank
is
you so
going
much.
to do a Fortnite dance for you.
I still haven't done my other one. Like, I need to edit it together because I did it with my model, and then I need to do the IRL one.
We did it, chat. 420.
That's beautiful.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Dawn.
Fortnite.
This is so cool.
Thank you, Dawn, for the Fortnite.
That's
Anonymous
awesome.
wants their money back.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's not appearing
There's
anytime.
$80. I have to play Roblox. Fuck.
Haha!
Yeah.
We've hit the goal for Roblox therapy.
Oh yes, I could have.
We'll have to do it.
Oh, you want your Freddy?
I'm already full
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's not like I was like screen.
Hi.
I'm doing all my bonus streams after.
420, let's go! We got the funny number!
I have to buy some.
Funny number, let's go! Alright, Bonnie is over here. Where is Funny Chica?
Yeah. Could have just gone ahead.
Woo! 49% is alright.
$80 off. Basically, yeah.
Hi!
The dusty, like, puppet that is.
Where is Chica?
Actually, it's probably
Yeah.
Sky's got 4:20 a.m. Sky's winning.
I'm winning!
Sky knows how to play Fnaf games. You should probably be paying attention.
Shit. I knew that wasn't it, but I wasn't paying attention. I needed to get the...
Damn.
Damn!
Well,
And that's it.
and that's stream, baby. That's stream.
Yeah, that's stream, everyone.
We have streamed. We have streamed to stream.
Thank you all very much,
Get over
gamers.
this.
Well,
We're doing
We're
doing
saying
like the
goodbye. Oh, I gotta
final-
actually look at the camera. I've gotta like not look here.
Look at how tall everyone
Hi,
is.
Jinx.
Look at the
This
height
is this is
difference.
how we actually. I'm this short.
This is
Yeah.
the, this
I'm
is
not
the
actually
real-
sitting down right now. I'm just standing in front
We are
of the
the
chair.
we are the watching trials.
We are the
Yeah,
we
waiting
were the
trolls.
quartet.
We are the quartet.
Why, what?
Hello.
Hey Siri, kill yourself.
It's a Samsung.
This is very cool.
Oh my god.
Thanks,
Anyway,
Samsung. A phone
thank
is
you for
going
being
off.
here
In...
Oh
for
my iPad
Everyday
is going.
August Day 8, the
Yay!
FNAF stream. Tomorrow we'll be doing the POG SMP crowd control.
My
Yeah,
friends.
I gotta,
So where
I
we-
gotta reset up my.
I will
screen
be
for you.
there.
I've got to
maybe.
figure out. I've got to pay
Not
like
like
10
this,
bucks.
though.
Put
I'll
a
be
certain-
in game,
Yes.
Oh god.
and I'll probably be donating money. but
Please
just say not.
donate to charity. It's
Donate!
up here. You know,
I am the
it's
charity.
pinned. It's
There.
pinned.
I am the charity.
We are charity.
Oh, we're past Roblox. Our next
yeah.
goal is
I have
to do something.
I have to dye
Dye-
and bleach and
This
dye
guy.
my hair. I get to bleach and dye my hair if we hit $500.
this funny guy. That one.
Hey, I will be doing that.
You gotta change his hair. They're gonna cube you.
I get
this
to
is
do it
correct.
again.
You're gonna get.
I'm gonna get you.
You're gonna get cubed.
Anyway.
So this has been Wage and Troll. This is Wage and Troll. That's Wage and Troll, and this is Wage and Troll, and we are the Wage and Trolls.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
You can find me on Sky, Disco Portal, and YouTube. You can find Squoctopus on Squoctopus. And
Or
Squaltopus on Twitch. You can find Dawn
Dawn.
streaming after this stream.
Yeah,
I
do
gotta
it.
Whenever
go
she
and play
gets
Sonic.
when
Do
she
you
gets
think I
home
can raid into
Dawn
you
Fire.
right now?
on Dawnfire. Dawnfire Rose or just
No,
Dawnfire?
just
No, it's just
Dawnfire.
It's just Dawnfire.
And you know where to find me. Get in a ditch.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go hole.
You will not be seeing this man again. If you want to see him again, if you want to see him, this is the last chance.
I was gonna say, if you want to see me again, we have to donate $100 right now.
It will just be me for the future streams. So tomorrow I will be playing Pod Crowd Control. Then I will be dyeing Squawk's hair if we reach that $500 goal.
You will be the Roblox therapist.
I will be the Roblox therapist and the Roblox Among Us.
Alright, you can hit the end button on my stream deck
We-
whenever you're done.
Love,
Yeah.
love, love you.
There's a
Wait,
button that
what?
says end.
I
And
can't read it.